Loitering is a crime, and you've been standing here way too long. Officer Derek Hutchins snaps handcuffs onto a black man in a gray suit who just bought a toy and was loading it into his Mercedes. The crowd records as Hutchins arrests him for standing by his own car, for shopping while black in a neighborhood where his skin color makes him automatically suspicious. At the booking desk, Sergeant Linda Hayes asks for identification. The man reaches into his jacket with cuffed hands, pulls out his wallet, and produces a black and gold card. Hayes looks at it. Her hands tremble. She passes it to Hutchins without speaking. He reads it. The smirk vanishes. Color drains from his face like water from a broken glass. His hand grips the counter. The man speaks, voice cold as ice. Have you ever realized too late that your assumptions just destroyed everything? The morning starts like every other morning for Franklin Wilson. At 6:45, when most of the city is still sleeping, he walks through the glass doors of the Federal Building in downtown Los Angeles. The security guard at the entrance straightens up and nods with respect that comes from 15 years of seeing the same face arrive before dawn. "Good morning, Your Honor." Franklin returns the greeting with a warm smile, balancing 2 coffee cups in his hands, one black for himself and one with cream for Emily, his court clerk who's been with him since his first day on the bench. His chambers on the 7th floor smell like leather and old books. The walls tell the story of a life dedicated to justice. Law degrees from Howard University and UCLA hang in simple black frames. Photographs capture moments that matter. Franklin shaking hands with President Obama at his confirmation ceremony in 2010. Franklin with his son Thomas at Harvard Law graduation, both men grinning in their caps and gowns. Franklin's mother in her nurse's uniform, the woman who worked 2 shifts so her son could have a future she never had. Emily arrives at 7 sharp and finds the coffee waiting on her desk like always. "Judge, your 2 o'clock hearing on the police misconduct case." Franklin nods without looking up from the brief he's reading. 43 complaints over 12 years. The pattern is clear. He's been reviewing cases from Greenfield Police Department for months now, preparing for what might become a landmark civil rights investigation. The numbers tell a story that statistics can't hide. But Franklin Wilson wasn't born in courtrooms surrounded by law books. He grew up in Watts, South Los Angeles, in 1976, when the neighborhood was still recovering from riots and the promises of change that never came. His mother worked night shifts at county hospital and day shifts at a nursing home, sleeping 4 hours between jobs so she could put food on the table and keep the lights on. Franklin did his homework under streetlights when the electricity got cut off. He read Supreme Court decisions in the public library while other kids played basketball outside. Howard University gave him a scholarship. UCLA Law School gave him a chance. The district attorney's office gave him experience. And in 2010, President Obama gave him a black robe and a gavel and the responsibility to make sure justice worked for everyone, not just people who looked like the men in the old paintings hanging in federal courtrooms. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. The afternoon heat in Southern California pushes the temperature to 89 degrees. Franklin leaves his chambers early, trading his judicial robe for a charcoal gray suit and navy tie. He has a mission that has nothing to do with law. His granddaughter turns 8 on Saturday, and she's been asking for a specific Lego architecture set for 3 months. The toy store in Pasadena is sold out. But Bright Minds Toys in Mission Valley, 90 miles away in the small city of Greenfield, has it in stock. He called this morning to confirm. Greenfield is the kind of town that appears in magazines about best places to raise a family. Population 45,000. 82% white, 3% black, 12% Hispanic. Median income $95,000 a year. Main Street has American flags on every lamppost and mom-and-pop shops with signs that say, "Support our police." The houses have perfect lawns. The schools have perfect test scores. Everything is clean and quiet and safe, which is code for everyone looks the same and thinks the same, and anyone different is automatically suspicious. The Greenfield Police Department has 68 officers. 64 of them are white. 23 formal complaints about racial profiling have been filed in the past 5 years. Not a single officer has been disciplined. The new chief, Patricia Morrison, took the job 6 months ago promising reform. But promises are easy and change is hard, and Franklin knows from the case files on his desk that the culture of this department runs deep as concrete. He doesn't know it yet, but in 2 hours, he'll become evidence in his own case. Franklin's Mercedes pulls into the parking lot of Mission Valley Shopping Center at 3:45 in the afternoon. The black S-Class gleams under the California sun, recently washed, the leather interior still smelling faintly of the coffee he spilled last week. He parks directly in front of Bright Minds Toys, checking his watch. 30 minutes before closing. Plenty of time. He steps out of the car in his gray suit, the fabric tailored perfectly to his frame. His navy tie is still knotted from court. His Oxford leather shoes reflect the sunlight. He carries his wallet, his phone, his keys. A professional man on a simple errand. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. Just a grandfather buying a gift for a child he loves. But 2 blocks away, Unit 23 of the Greenfield Police Department is making its routine patrol. Officer Derek Hutchins drives while Officer Maria Santos rides passenger. Hutchins is 34 with 8 years on the force and a reputation among the Hispanic and black communities as someone who sees crime in skin color. Santos is 29, 6 months out of the academy, still learning that staying quiet is easier than speaking up. Hutchins slows the patrol car as they pass the shopping center. His eyes lock onto Franklin. "Hey, Santos, check that out." Santos looks. "What?" Hutchins gestures with his chin. "Black guy, nice car, this neighborhood. You seeing what I'm seeing?" Santos shifts in her seat, uncomfortable with where this is going. "Sir, he's just parked." Hutchins picks up his radio. "Let's make sure he belongs here." He calls dispatch. "Run a plate for me. California." The numbers come through clear. Dispatch responds within seconds. Plates clean. Registered to Franklin Wilson, Pasadena address. Hutchins frowns at the radio. Pasadena? That's 90 miles away. What's he doing here? Inside Bright Minds Toys, Franklin moves through aisles of childhood dreams. The store smells like new plastic and cardboard, the scent of possibility. A young employee named Sarah Anderson greets him with genuine warmth. "Can I help you find something?" Franklin smiles. "I'm looking for the Lego architecture set, the Statue of Liberty, for my granddaughter's birthday." Sarah's face lights up. "Oh, that's perfect for an 8-year-old. Is she interested in building?" Franklin nods, pulling out his phone to show Sarah a photo. She wants to be an architect, like her grandmother was. They talk for 15 minutes about the gift, about children and dreams, about how the best presents inspire futures. Sarah wraps the box carefully, adding extra tissue paper because she can tell this grandfather cares about the details. Franklin pays with his credit card. $180. The receipt prints and he folds it into his wallet. "Thank you for your help." Sarah beams. "She's going to love it. Tell her good luck from me." Franklin walks out at 4:06 carrying the bag with both hands. His phone rings as he reaches his car. Thomas, his son. "Dad, how's the shopping? Got the Lego set. She'll be thrilled." Thomas's voice carries a note of concern. "Be safe out there. That area's, you know." Franklin chuckles, the sound deep and warm. "Son, I've been doing this for 58 years. I'll be fine." He places the toy bag on the passenger seat and is reaching for his door handle when blue and red lights flash in his peripheral vision. The patrol car pulls in behind him at an angle, blocking his exit. 2 officers emerge. Franklin's hand freezes on the door. He doesn't move, doesn't flee, doesn't give them any reason except the one they already have. Hutchins' voice cuts across the parking lot. "Sir, step away from the vehicle." Franklin turns slowly, his movements deliberate and visible. "Good afternoon, officer. Is there a problem?" Hutchins takes 3 steps closer, hand resting near his weapon. "I said step away from the vehicle. Hands where I can see them." Franklin releases the door handle and raises both hands to shoulder height, palms open, fingers spread. He takes 2 careful steps backward. His face remains calm, but his mind is already working, already documenting, already building the case that these officers don't yet know they're creating against themselves. "What are you doing in this area?" Hutchins circles around the Mercedes like a predator assessing prey. Franklin keeps his voice level and polite. "I just finished shopping, officer, at Bright Minds Toys." He gestures carefully toward the bag visible through the window. "Where do you live?" "Pasadena." Hutchins stops circling. "That's a long way from here. Why this store?" Franklin maintains eye contact. "They have a specific Lego set my granddaughter wanted." "Is there a law against shopping?" The question hangs in the air. Hutchins's jaw tightens. "Don't get smart with me. Whose car is this?" "Mine. Registration and license." Franklin keeps his hands visible. May I reach for my wallet? It's in my inside jacket pocket. Hutchins's hand moves closer to his gun. Slowly. Very slowly. Santos stands off to the side, watching, her discomfort growing but her voice staying silent. Derek, he's cooperating. Hutchins shoots her a sharp look. Santos, secure the perimeter. Franklin moves in slow motion, reaching into his jacket. His fingers find the leather wallet. He pulls it out and extends it toward Hutchins, who snatches it and examines the driver's license. California. Franklin Wilson. The photo matches. The address matches what dispatch said. This car's registered to you? Yes, officer. As dispatch confirmed. Hutchins holds the license up to the light as if searching for forgery. How does a guy from Pasadena afford a car like this? Franklin pauses before answering, choosing his words with the precision of someone who's spent decades in courtrooms. I work hard, like many Americans. What do you do for work? I work in law. Hutchins scoffs. Law? Like a lawyer? Something like that. The officer's eyes narrow. You got any warrants I should know about? No, officer, no warrants, no criminal record. A small crowd is forming now. 4 shoppers have stopped to watch. A woman in yoga pants pulls out her phone and starts recording. The scene is familiar to anyone who's paid attention to the news for the past decade. A black man, a white cop, hands up, tension rising. Hutchins notices the crowd and his tone shifts, becoming more official, more aggressive. How long have you been parked here? About 20 minutes total. 15 inside the store, 5 at my vehicle. Hutchins nods as if Franklin just confirmed a crime. That's loitering. Franklin's eyebrow raises slightly, the first crack in his composed exterior. I'm sorry. City Ordinance 14-5. No parking for non-commercial purposes exceeding 15 minutes without store validation. Officer, I have a receipt. I'm a paying customer. Let me see it. Franklin reaches toward the car. Stop. Hutchins' hand goes to his weapon. What are you reaching for? The receipt. You asked for it. Hutchins looks at Santos. Santos, check that bag. The younger officer approaches the Mercedes and opens the passenger door. She pulls out the Bright Minds bag and looks inside. It's just a toy, Derek. Lego box. Receipt says 4:04 p.m., 7 minutes ago. Hutchins ignores her completely. Bright Minds closes at 4:30. You're not shopping anymore. You're loitering. Franklin takes a slow breath, the kind that comes before difficult decisions. Officer Hutchins. He reads the name tag clearly visible on the uniform. How do you know my name? It's on your uniform. Officer Hutchins, I've broken no laws. I'd like to leave now. You'll leave when I say you can leave. Am I being detained? You're being investigated for suspicious activity. Based on what probable cause? Hutchins steps closer, close enough that Franklin can smell the coffee on his breath. Based on you not fitting in this neighborhood. Based on you giving me attitude. Based on me saying so. The words are a dare, a challenge, an abuse of power so blatant that the woman with the phone camera gasps. Franklin remains perfectly still. Turn around, hands on the car. Officer, this is now. The crowd has grown to a dozen people. Multiple phones are recording. A man in a business suit shakes his head. A teenage girl whispers to her mother. This is wrong. But no one intervenes. No one steps forward, because the uniform carries authority even when the authority is wrong. Franklin makes his choice. He could argue. He could resist. He could demand a supervisor. But instead he slowly turns and places his hands flat on the roof of his Mercedes. The metal is hot from the sun, burning against his palms. His mind is calculating every violation, every illegal step, every word that will matter later. He's not scared. He's documenting, building evidence, waiting for the moment when these officers realize exactly who they're dealing with. That moment is coming, but not yet. Hutchins' hands are not gentle. The pat-down is aggressive, rough, designed to humiliate rather than secure. His palms slam against Franklin's shoulders with unnecessary force, then down his back, his sides, his waist. Each touch is a violation wrapped in the excuse of procedure. Franklin winces but makes no sound. He's endured worse. He's seen worse. He knows this is theater, a performance of dominance for the growing crowd. You got anything on you I should know about? Drugs? Weapons? No, officer. Hutchins empties Franklin's pockets one by one, placing items on the hot roof of the Mercedes. The Mont Blanc wallet lands with a thud. The Mercedes key fob clatters beside it, the iPhone in its leather case, a fountain pen that cost $200, a pressed pocket square. Hutchins picks up the wallet and turns it over in his hands. Nice wallet. Real leather. His tone drips with implication, with the unspoken accusation that a black man with expensive things must have acquired them illegally. Without asking permission, Hutchins flips the wallet open. Franklin's jaw tightens, but he says nothing. Inside, the contents of a successful life are laid bare. $340 in cash, crisp 20s fresh from the ATM. 4 credit cards, including a black American Express that catches the light. Insurance cards, photos of smiling grandchildren, business cards with embossed text. And in a separate compartment, face down and unnoticed, a black and gold federal identification card that would end this interaction immediately if only Hutchins bothered to look carefully. That's a lot of cash. Where'd you get it? ATM. Is that illegal now? Hutchins's face hardens. Drug dealers carry a lot of cash. Franklin's voice rises slightly for the first time, controlled anger breaking through. I am not a drug dealer. The radio on Hutchins' shoulder crackles. Unit 23. This is dispatch. A second patrol car pulls into the lot. Sergeant Kyle Brennan emerges, older and heavier, with the kind of authority that comes from 15 years of backing up officers who shouldn't be backed up. He surveys the scene with experienced eyes. A black man against a car, hands on the hood, crowd watching. He's seen this before. He'll see it again. Sarge, suspicious individual. Nice car, lots of cash, attitude problem. Brennan walks around Franklin slowly, appraising him like livestock. ID? Already checked. Franklin Wilson, Pasadena. What's he done? Loitering, possible stolen vehicle investigation. Franklin speaks directly to Brennan for the first time. Sergeant, this is unlawful detention. I've committed no crime. Brennan ignores him and looks at Hutchins. What's your probable cause? Doesn't fit the area. Evasive answers. City Ordinance 14-5. Brennan nods slowly. Run the car again. Check for theft reports matching the description. Franklin closes his eyes briefly. The lie is being built brick by brick, a false narrative constructed to justify an illegal stop. The crowd has grown to 15 people now. Multiple phones capture every moment. A woman calls out from behind her camera. Officers, I saw him come out of the toy store. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Brennan turns toward her voice. Ma'am, step back or you'll be charged with interfering with police business. The woman takes 2 steps backward but keeps recording. Hutchins moves to Franklin's Mercedes. I'm going to search your vehicle. You don't have my consent. I don't need it. Probable cause, suspected stolen vehicle. Franklin's voice is steady, but his mind is racing through case law, through precedent, through every Fourth Amendment violation he's witnessed in his courtroom. That's fabricated, and you know it. Brennan steps closer. Watch your tone. The search begins. Hutchins opens the driver's door and leans inside. The glove compartment yields registration, insurance documents, AAA card, and a federal building parking pass that Hutchins glances at but doesn't process. The center console holds sunglasses, breath mints, and charging cables. Nothing interesting, nothing criminal, nothing that justifies this violation. Then Hutchins sees the briefcase in the back seat. Leather, expensive, locked. What's in the briefcase? Legal documents. Confidential. Open it. No. Attorney-client privilege. Hutchins smirks. You said you work in law, not that you're a lawyer. Franklin doesn't correct him, doesn't explain. Lets the officer continue digging his own grave. Hutchins jimmies the lock with his baton. The brass clasp breaks with a snap. Inside the briefcase, the evidence of Franklin's real life sits waiting. Case files with federal court headers in bold print across the top. Legal pads covered in Franklin's handwriting. Law books with sticky notes marking important precedents. A folder labeled in red letters, Confidential United States v. Greenfield PD. Hutchins flips through the papers quickly, not really reading, not understanding what he's looking at. One document slips out and falls to the ground. Santos picks it up. The header reads, Federal Court of Appeals, 9th Circuit. Derek, maybe we should. Hutchins cuts her off. Santos, I said, secure the perimeter. Brennan leans against the Mercedes, arms crossed. Mr. Wilson, you need to understand something. We keep this town safe. When someone who doesn't belong shows up acting suspicious. Franklin interrupts, his voice sharp. Doesn't belong? Because I'm black? Brennan doesn't flinch. Don't play that card. Because you're from out of town. Because you're being evasive. Shopping is evasive. Hutchins slams the car door. You were casing the area. I was buying a Lego set. Sure you were. The radio crackles again. Unit 23, dispatch. No stolen vehicle reports matching that description or plate. Hutchins and Brennan exchange a look. They're too far in now to back out. The crowd is watching. The cameras are recording. They need an arrest to justify the stop. Hutchins steps aside with Brennan for a quick conference. What else you got? He's been difficult, refusing to comply, loitering charge, and obstruction. He's argued with every command. Do it. Franklin sees them talking, sees the decision being made. He could speak up now, could tell them who he is, could pull the federal ID from his wallet and watch them scramble. But something stops him. Some deep need to let this play out, to experience firsthand what thousands of Black Americans experience every day. To gather evidence not just for his case against Greenfield PD, but for every case, every brief, every ruling he'll write for the rest of his career. Franklin Wilson, you're under arrest. For what? Loitering in violation of City Ordinance 14-5 and obstruction of a police investigation. This is false arrest. Turn around, hands behind your back. Franklin takes a deep breath and complies. The handcuffs come out, silver metal glinting in the afternoon sun. They close around his wrists with two sharp clicks. Too tight. The metal bites into skin. Those are too tight. They're fine. Hutchins recites the Miranda warning in a monotone rush, words he's said 1,000 times, words that have lost all meaning through repetition. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Do you understand these rights? Yes, and I'm invoking my right to remain silent. Effective now. Smart move. The walk to the patrol car feels like a perp walk on national television. Hutchins grips Franklin's arm too tightly, fingers digging into the expensive fabric of the suit jacket. The crowd murmurs. Phones follow every step. The woman who spoke up earlier is still recording, tears streaming down her face. This is wrong. He didn't do anything. An older white man shakes his head at her. Let the police do their job, lady. Another voice from the back. He's probably a thief anyway. Santos gathers Franklin's belongings into an evidence bag. Wallet, phone, keys, briefcase, the toy store bag with the crushed Lego box. Everything he brought with him. Everything that tells the story of who he really is. She seals the bag and places it in the trunk of Unit 23. Hutchins opens the back door of the patrol car. The cage separates front from back, metal mesh that turns passengers into prisoners. He places his hand on Franklin's head and pushes down, guiding him into the seat. Franklin doesn't resist, doesn't fight. He ducks and sits, and the door slams shut with the heavy thunk of institutional machinery. Inside the car, Franklin sits upright despite the discomfort of hands cuffed behind his back. Through the window, he watches Hutchins and Santos talk. Hutchins is gesturing, animated, confident. Santos looks at the ground. Through the windshield, Franklin can see the crowd beginning to disperse. The show is over. Time to go home. Time to forget. Time to let another Black man disappear into the system. The engine starts. Hutchins calls dispatch. Unit 23 en route to station with one in custody. Copy that, Unit 23. Booking is ready. Santos turns around in her seat to look at Franklin through the mesh. Sir, Hutchins cuts her off. Eyes front, Santos. The patrol car pulls out of the parking lot. Franklin's Mercedes sits abandoned, door still open, his belongings gone. They drive through the streets of Greenfield. Perfect houses, perfect lawns, perfect lives built on the assumption that people like Franklin don't belong. In the back seat, Franklin closes his eyes. Not in defeat, not in fear, in preparation. He's counting the minutes, calculating the timeline, building the case in his mind. He's processed 200 criminal cases in his 15 years on the bench. He knows exactly what happens next. He knows the booking procedure. He knows when they'll ask for identification. He knows the precise moment when everything will change. And these officers have no idea what's coming. Greenfield Police Department sits on Maple Street, a low brick building with an American flag out front. Unit 23 pulls into the Sallyport at 4:33 p.m. Hutchins opens the back door, and Franklin steps out with hands still cuffed, his suit wrinkled but his dignity intact. Inside, fluorescent lights hum overhead. The booking desk sits behind bulletproof glass. Sergeant Linda Hayes, 51 and the only Black sergeant in the department, looks up as they enter. Her eyes widen when she sees Franklin. Something in his bearing tells her this is different. Derek, who's this? Loitering and obstruction, booking him. Hayes looks at Franklin directly. Sir, your name? I'm invoking my right to remain silent. I want to make a phone call. After booking. Name? Hutchins steps forward. Franklin Wilson, from Pasadena. Hayes begins paperwork, typing information into the system. Hutchins dumps the evidence bag onto the counter. Wallet, phone, keys, briefcase, the crushed toy store bag. Hayes catalogs each item, writing descriptions. She reaches for the wallet and opens it to verify identification. Driver's license, credit cards, insurance cards, photos. Then her fingers stop. In a separate compartment, she finds a card different from the others. Heavier stock, black with gold embossing, an eagle seal pressed into the surface. Hayes pulls it out slowly. Her hands begin trembling as she reads. United States District Court, Southern District of California. Below that, the Honorable Franklin J. Wilson, federal judge. The photo matches the man in handcuffs. Oh my God. The words come out as a whisper. Hutchins is filling out paperwork. What? Hayes holds up the card with shaking fingers, unable to speak. Derek, do you know who this is? Hutchins takes the card. His eyes scan the text once, twice. His face transforms. Confusion, recognition, terror. The healthy tan drains away, replaced by sickly gray-white. That's not, he stammers. That can't be real. Franklin's voice cuts through the room like ice. Oh, it's very possible. Santos appears in the doorway and gasps. Hayes stands up, chair rolling backward. You arrested a federal judge? Hutchins' confidence shatters. He didn't say. Franklin's eyes are cold steel. You didn't ask. You assumed. Sergeant Hayes, uncuff me now. Hayes fumbles for keys. Yes, Your Honor, I'm so sorry. Hutchins steps forward weakly. Wait, we still have charges. Franklin turns his full attention to Hutchins. Officer Hutchins, you will be silent. The handcuffs come off. Franklin rubs his wrists where red marks show. He rolls his shoulders. Sergeant Hayes, I'm invoking my phone call. Now. Of course, Your Honor. Use my desk phone. Franklin dials from memory. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. This is Judge Wilson. Connect me to Chief Judge Holmes. Emergency. Brief hold. Then a woman's voice. Franklin, what's wrong? Margaret, I'm at Greenfield PD. I've been falsely arrested. Call the U.S. Attorney's Office, Civil Rights Division, and Chief Morrison. Are you hurt? I'm fine. But this department has a problem. He hangs up. Brennan rushes in and stops dead, seeing Franklin free, the federal ID on Hayes' desk. The color drains from his face. Sarge, I didn't know. Franklin cuts him off. I shouldn't have to. A black man shopping is not probable cause. Your Honor, there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. A violation of my Fourth Amendment rights, recorded by multiple witnesses. Hayes speaks quietly. Your Honor, there's body cam footage. I know. I want it preserved. All of it. Yes, sir. I want the names of all officers involved. Hayes writes. Derek Hutchins, 2843. Kyle Brennan, 1923. Maria Santos, 3106. And I want Officer Santos in here. Santos enters, terrified. Franklin's voice softens. Officer Santos, you're not in trouble. Sir? You hesitated. I saw it. You questioned Hutchins. You were uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do. You're going to write a report. Everything you saw. The truth. Yes, Your Honor. And you're going to do the right thing from now on. Yes, sir. Franklin addresses the room. This is what happens when you judge by skin color instead of character. When you abuse power given to protect and serve. Hutchins stares at the floor. Brennan sweats through his uniform. I'm leaving now with my belongings. You will not charge me. And I'm filing formal complaints with the city, state, and federal government. The door bursts open. Chief Patricia Morrison enters, face flushed. What the hell happened here? Franklin faces her directly. Chief Morrison, your officers racially profiled and falsely arrested a federal judge. Morrison's eyes take in everyone's faces. Your Honor, save it. We'll talk officially with lawyers present. Officers Hutchins and Brennan, my office now. They leave, heads down, careers ending with every step. Hayes hands Franklin his belongings. Phone showing 14 missed calls, keys, briefcase, the crushed toy store bag. He looks at it and sighs. Your Honor, I'm so deeply sorry. Hayes has tears in her eyes. Sergeant Hayes, you did your job correctly. You caught the error. Thank you. Franklin walks toward the door. A free man who should never have been arrested. The power has shifted, and everyone knows what comes next will change everything. Chief Morrison's office is small and cluttered with plaques and framed photos. She sits behind her desk while Franklin stands, refusing the offered chair. Hutchins and Brennan stand against the wall like children called to the principal's office. Your Honor, on behalf of Greenfield PD, I offer our sincerest apologies. Morrison's voice is formal, rehearsed. Franklin's response is immediate. I don't want apologies. I want accountability. Morrison nods. Understood. These officers will face discipline. Discipline? They violated federal civil rights. Hutchins steps forward, desperate. Your Honor, I made a mistake. I didn't know. Franklin turns to face him. You didn't know because you didn't care. You saw a black man and made assumptions. That's not... I was just doing my job. Your job is to serve and protect, not to harass and humiliate. Brennan tries his defense. Sir, you could have identified yourself earlier. Franklin's stare is ice. Could have. I showed my license. You ran my plates. You searched my briefcase full of federal court documents. You didn't look because you didn't want to see. Brennan falls silent. And Sergeant, you backed illegal actions. That's complicity. Morrison stands. Brennan, Hutchins, you're suspended. Effective immediately. Badges and weapons now. Hutchins's face crumbles. Chief, no, please. This will ruin my career. Franklin's voice is quiet but deadly. You should have thought about that before you handcuffed an innocent man. Morrison points to the door. Get out. Don't speak to anyone. They leave, badges clinking on the desk, careers ending with each step. Morrison waits until they're gone. Your Honor, how can we make this right? You can't, but you can make sure it doesn't happen again. I've been trying to reform this department. I inherited. Franklin cuts her off. I know, I've read the complaint reports, 23 in 5 years, all dismissed. Morrison's eyes widen. You've researched us? I had a case on my docket. United States v. Greenfield PD. Civil rights pattern investigation. The chief goes pale. This wasn't random. Your department is under federal scrutiny. Today, you gave me first-hand evidence. Outside the station at 5:31 p.m., Franklin faces a crowd of reporters. Judge Wilson, is it true you were arrested? Yes. I was racially profiled, detained, and falsely arrested while shopping for my granddaughter's gift. What will you do? I will pursue every legal avenue. This isn't about me. It's about thousands of black Americans who experience this every day without a federal ID to save them. The video hits social media within minutes. Witness footage uploads everywhere. Within 2 hours, 500,000 views. Within 12 hours, 3.2 million. Hashtags trend. Judge Wilson. Driving while black. Greenfield PD. Comments explode. If this happens to a federal judge, imagine regular people. Fire those cops. This is America. Cable news picks it up by 6 p.m. CNN breaks in. Federal judge arrested while shopping. Fox follows. Judge claims racial profiling. MSNBC goes live. Another DWB case. Franklin's face appears across split screens nationwide. Greenfield PD issues a statement at 8 p.m. We are conducting a thorough investigation. We take allegations seriously. Officers placed on administrative leave. The comments roast them. Too late. Fire them. Sue. Protesters gather by nightfall holding signs. Justice for Judge Wilson. End racial profiling. At 10 p.m., Franklin sits home in Pasadena. Every channel shows his face. His phone rings constantly. Grace, his wife, sits beside him. Franklin, are you sure? The attention, the stress? Franklin looks at her, then at the crushed toy bag on the table. Grace, if I don't fight, who will? I have the platform. I have the power. I have to use it. She nods and hugs him. He picks up the bag, looks at the damaged Lego box inside, thinking about his granddaughter, about how a simple shopping trip became evidence, about all the people who don't get viral videos or justice. 1 week after the arrest, federal investigators arrive in Greenfield. The DOJ Civil Rights Division sends attorney Sarah Bennett, a prosecutor with 15 years of experience, dismantling corrupt police departments. She sets up in a conference room at City Hall and begins interviewing witnesses. The toy store employee Sarah Anderson sits across from her, hands folded nervously. He was the nicest customer. So polite. I can't believe they arrested him. Bennett takes notes. The woman who filmed the arrest comes next. They treated him like a criminal for existing, for being black in the wrong place. Officer Santos is the key witness. She sits in the interview room for 3 hours, her testimony recorded and transcribed. Hutchins said he doesn't fit the neighborhood. That was the whole reason we stopped him. Bennett leans forward. Those were his exact words. Santos nods. I knew it was wrong. I should have said something. I was scared. Bennett's voice is gentle but firm. You're saying it now. That matters. The body cam footage is released to the media through a public records request. 29 minutes of video that tells the entire story. Hutchins saying you people always think you belong here. Hutchins asking how does a guy like you afford this car? The rough pat-down. Franklin staying calm throughout. The moment he says those are too tight and Hutchins ignores him. Cable news plays it on loop. A former police chief appears on CNN. This is textbook racial profiling. Every single step was a constitutional violation, a civil rights attorney adds. The officers had no probable cause from the beginning. This was bias wearing a badge. The DOJ pulls Hutchins's and Brennan's personnel files. The pattern is undeniable. Hutchins has 11 complaints over 8 years, 9 from Black or Hispanic citizens, all dismissed by internal affairs, excessive force, discourtesy, unlawful detention. The complaints tell stories. A Hispanic man pulled over 6 times in 1 year, never cited. A Black teenager stopped for walking home from school. A family harassed during a traffic stop because their car looked too expensive. Brennan's file shows 8 complaints over 15 years. 5 for racial profiling, 3 for excessive force. Every complaint shows the same pattern. He backs up junior officers making illegal stops. He provides cover. He writes reports that justify the unjustifiable, the blue wall of silence personified. Bennett's report goes to Washington. Pattern and practice violations across the entire department. 43 complaints from minorities in 5 years. 0 officers disciplined. 0 accountability. 0 consequences until a federal judge became the victim. The Greenfield City Council calls an emergency meeting. The chambers are packed with protesters, media, and angry residents. One by one, citizens approach the microphone. A Hispanic man speaks first. Hutchins pulled me over 6 times in 2 years. No tickets, just harassment, making me feel like I don't belong in my own town. A Black woman is next. My son was stopped for looking suspicious in his own neighborhood. He was 14, wearing a backpack, walking home from school. A white ally approaches the mic. I'm ashamed. I've lived here 20 years and never saw this. Never wanted to see it. But I see it now. This is not the Greenfield I thought I lived in. The council votes unanimously for an independent review. 3 weeks after the arrest, Franklin files his federal lawsuit. The complaint is 40 pages long, meticulously documented, every violation cited with case law. Plaintiff, Judge Franklin J. Wilson. Defendants, Officer Derek Hutchins, Sergeant Kyle Brennan, City of Greenfield. Claims, violation of 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, Fourth Amendment violation, racial discrimination, false arrest, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Damages sought, $5 million plus punitive damages plus injunctive relief forcing department reforms. The ACLU joins as co-counsel. The National NAACP files an amicus brief. This case matters beyond Franklin. It matters for everyone. The state district attorney files criminal charges. Officer Derek Hutchins is charged with official misconduct, false imprisonment, and deprivation of civil rights. Sergeant Kyle Brennan faces official misconduct and aiding and abetting. Both plead not guilty. Trial is scheduled for 6 months out. Their defense attorneys tell reporters their clients were following protocol, but no one believes it anymore. The administrative hearing happens at City Hall. Internal Affairs presents evidence. The body cam footage plays on a large screen. Expert witnesses testify about racial profiling. Santos takes the stand and tells the truth. Hutchins's complaint history is read into the record. The hearing officer deliberates for 1 hour. Guilty of misconduct, both officers. Recommendation, termination. Chief Morrison holds a press conference. Cameras flash as she reads from a prepared statement. Effective today, Officer Derek Hutchins and Sergeant Kyle Brennan are terminated from Greenfield Police Department. Their actions were inexcusable. They violated their oath. They violated public trust. They violated Judge Wilson's civil rights. We will implement mandatory bias training, body cam enforcement, and community oversight boards. Outside, protesters cheer. But some voices shout too late and systemic racism because words without action mean nothing. The criminal trial begins 6 months later. State of California versus Derek Hutchins and Kyle Brennan. The prosecutor shows the body cam footage to the jury. Witness after witness testifies. Expert witnesses explain how every action violated procedure and law. The defense argues good faith mistake. The prosecutor destroys that argument. There was no good faith. There was only bias. Franklin takes the stand on day 4. He wears the same gray suit from that day, now cleaned and pressed. He tells his story in a calm voice. I've spent my career believing in the justice system. That day I saw how it fails people who look like me. If I didn't have a federal ID, I'd be another statistic. Another black man with an arrest record for doing nothing. The jury deliberates for 4 hours, guilty on all counts, both defendants. The courtroom erupts. Sentencing comes 2 weeks later. Hutchins receives 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation, and a $25,000 fine. Brennan gets 12 months, 3 years probation, and $15,000. Both are barred from law enforcement for life. The federal civil case settles 9 months after the arrest. The city's insurance company knows they can't win at trial. Settlement terms, $4.2 million to Franklin, who immediately donates it to the ACLU and racial justice organizations. A consent decree placing Greenfield PD under federal oversight for 5 years. Mandatory reforms including bias training every 6 months, body cams with automatic upload, civilian review board with subpoena power, officer complaint histories made public, and community policing initiatives. Franklin makes a statement to the press. This isn't about money, it's about change, making sure this never happens again. Making sure the next black man who shops in Greenfield doesn't need a federal ID to be treated with dignity. The department transforms slowly. 14 officers resign rather than face reform. 6 are retrained or reassigned. 8 new officers are hired, including 4 people of color. Santos is promoted to training coordinator, teaching new recruits about bias and constitutional rights. 18 months later, complaints drop 73%. Community trust increases. Greenfield becomes a model for reform, proof that change is possible when consequences are real. 1 year after the arrest, Franklin sits in his chambers writing an opinion on another police misconduct case. The downtown Los Angeles skyline stretches beyond his window, glass towers catching the afternoon sun. A knock on the door. Thomas enters carrying coffee. "Dad, I saw your quote in the Times today." "Which one?" "About the Greenfield case. Justice delayed is justice denied, but justice delivered is a lesson for all." Franklin smiles. "The reforms are working. Greenfield PD is a model now." "One department," Franklin says quietly. "Thousands more to go." He opens his desk drawer and pulls out the Lego architecture set. The box is still slightly crushed from that day. The memory surfaces like a photograph. His granddaughter's 8th birthday party 3 days after the arrest. "Grandpa, why is the box damaged?" "It went on a difficult journey," he told her. "But it made it home, just like Grandpa." She hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. The Lego Statue of Liberty sits completed on his bookshelf now, a reminder that even broken things can be made whole. 6 months after the trial, Franklin testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee. The hearing room was packed with cameras and senators and citizens who'd traveled from across the country to witness it. Senator Reynolds asked the question everyone was thinking. "Judge Wilson, what would have happened if you weren't a federal judge?" Franklin's answer was immediate. "I would have an arrest record. I might have lost my job, my reputation, my freedom, like thousands of black men every year." But the real question is this. Why does it take a federal judge being arrested for people to care? Why isn't every person's dignity worth protecting? The room erupted in standing ovation that lasted 2 full minutes. Franklin's philosophy is simple, and he shares it everywhere he speaks. At community town halls, at law schools, at police academies invited to hear what reform really means. "I don't want to be treated well because I'm a judge. I want every black person treated well because we're human beings. That's why I keep fighting, not for myself, for those without federal IDs to protect them." Change is slow, but it happens when we demand it, when we document it, when we refuse to accept this is how it's always been. The statistics appear on screen as Franklin speaks directly to camera. Black Americans are 3 times more likely to be stopped by police. 60% of wrongful arrests involve people of color. Fewer than 2% of police misconduct complaints result in discipline. These aren't just numbers. They're lives, families, futures stolen by bias wearing a badge. Where are they now? Judge Franklin Wilson continues serving on the federal bench, advocating for police reform, keynoting conferences on racial justice. Derek Hutchins served 14 months with good behavior, now works in private security, banned from law enforcement forever. Kyle Brennan served 10 months, moved out of state, also banned. Officer Maria Santos leads training at Greenfield PD, teaching bias awareness and de-escalation. Chief Patricia Morrison implemented comprehensive reforms, making Greenfield a national model. The city remains under federal consent decree until 2028. Complaints down 73%. Community trust slowly rebuilding. So what can you do? Franklin's voice is urgent now. Know your rights. You can remain silent. You can refuse searches without warrants. You can film police interactions, document everything, use your phone to record, get witness names, report misconduct to police departments and independent oversight boards. Support reform by voting for politicians who demand police accountability. Donate to civil rights organizations. Share stories. When you see injustice, speak up. Amplify voices. Make noise. Franklin looks directly into the camera, his voice dropping to that quiet intensity that commands attention. The question isn't whether the system is broken. It is. The question is, what are you going to do about it? He pauses, letting the weight settle. Leave a comment below. Tell me your story. Have you or someone you know experienced racial profiling? What happened? Let's talk about it. Let's build a community that demands better. If this story moved you, like this video, it helps others find it. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe for more stories of justice served and systemic change. Hit the bell so you never miss when we expose injustice and celebrate accountability. The final scene shows Franklin walking out of the courthouse. Golden hour light bathes the steps. He stops and looks back at the camera. A small smile crosses his face. Change is coming because people like you refuse to stay silent. The screen fades to black. White text appears. Justice is not a spectator sport.